Bonjour, welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's Radio Zoom classes. This is MBF3C, grade 11 college math, and I am Bronwyn Slate. Participate live if you would like to. You can call the Wahsa studio at 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017. Then you can ask some questions if you'd like. You can listen through the radio at 91.9 FM or on the television at Bell Express View channel 972. You can always join through Zoom. The Zoom link is available through me, your teacher, and also your DEC. Our class is scheduled Monday through Thursday from 11 till 12 in the morning, and we are now in week 3 of our 9-week course. A reminder of what work to submit for marking. We have now completed Unit 1, so if you wanted to submit work, that would be great. The support questions, the ones marked with the pencil icons, are not for marking. They're just for practice for you. You decide which ones and how many of them you do. If you're understanding a concept, feel free to skip. If you need more practice than what's in the booklet, let me know and I will send you some. The answers are in the back of the booklet, so please check your work and to make sure that you're on the right track, but know that sometimes mistakes are made either in the questions or in the answers. So if anything doesn't line up the way you're expecting it to, let me know and we can check that out together. The key questions, the ones marked with the key icon, are the questions to submit for marking. So please do all of them from your booklet, show all of your work and all of your steps and thinking so I can give you credit for all that you understand. If you only give me your answer and there's an error, I can't give you any part marks. So please show all of your work. How to submit your work for marking. There's 3 methods. The first method is to scan and send your work in electronically. You scan your completed work in through either the iPhone Notes app or the Android Google Drive app. If you're not sure how to do this, let me know and I can help you. And then you can send it to through email to studentwork@nnec.on.ca and CC me at bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca, or you can send it to me through Facebook Messenger at bslatewahsa. The second method is to drop your work off in Sioux Lookout. We have an outdoor mailbox at 74 Front Street, the side entrance of our building. This is the big red building next to the post office, and there's a small white mailbox next to our side entrance. We are continuing to work remotely, so it may take me a couple days to get it, but once I get it, I'll get it back to you as soon as I can. Third method is to hand your work into your DEC. Your DEC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. Always, if you have any questions or concerns, anything is a challenge, please contact me. My email address is bronwyn.slate, which is spelled BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca. My Facebook is bslatewahsa. You can message me there. You can call the main office and leave a message for me at the main desk. That number is 807-737-1488 or toll free 1-800-667-3703. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Connecting with me through social media is another great way to access some supports. You can friend me on Facebook or subscribe to my YouTube channel. Both are called bslatewahsa. Every radio Zoom class is posted shortly after airing on YouTube. And I also have short videos there that explain confusing concepts or common errors. So it's a great place to check if you're struggling with something and you just need a little bit extra support. Math is a very visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the videos if you can, either joining us live through Zoom or by watching the replays on YouTube. If you don't have access to the internet, but you do have access to a computer, let me know and I can send you the recordings on a USB key. Right, we are in week 3, starting week 3, day 9 of our course. and we are diving into lesson 6 in unit 2, the simple interest and linear growth lesson. Our learning goals are that at the end of this lesson, you can say, I will be able to solve problems involving simple interest, and I will understand the relationships between simple interest, arithmetic sequences, and linear growth. Success criteria. I know I have met the learning goals because 1, I can explain the connections between simple interest and linear growth and arithmetic sequences. And 2, I can identify what information is available in a real life situation involving simple interest and can calculate the missing element. Activate our brains and dive in, doing some mental math. You'll remember doing math minutes in elementary school, likely, and how they were not a positive way for learning our arithmetic facts. So we are not going to just drill and kill. We're going to develop some strategies that we can apply to various situations. Today's example is breaking up factors into smaller factors when we're multiplying. So look, we have 3 questions that are related. We have 2 times 3 times 8, and we want to see how that can be useful to us. So 2 times 3 is 6. And then if we times that by 8, maybe we don't know what that is. So if we don't know what 6 times 8 is, instead what we can do is we can do, say we know what 3 times 8 is, and that's 24. And then we can multiply that by 2. So 2 times 24 is 48. So that means 2 times 3 times 8 is 48. Okay, so that's one way we can multiply things. Our next set of questions is 4 times 2 times 6. So 4 times 2 is 8. So that's 8 times 6. Say we still don't know what 8 times 6 is. So we're trying to figure out other ways to get there. So if we can do 2 times 6 is 24. Sorry, it's not 24, it's 12. My bad. Do that again. 2 times 6 is 12. And 4 times 12 equals 48. So then 6 times 8 is going to equal 48. Because if I break up, we just sort of broke it up in different ways. So if I break 6 into 2 times 3, because I know that 6 is 2 times 3. So 2 times 3 times 8, well, that's the same as what we had up here, and that is equal to 48. So that's one way that we could do it. Or I could break up 8 into 4 times 2, because 4 times 2 is 8. And then I could use that to break to be like this one, where we did 4 times 2 times 6 to get 48. So sometimes if you don't know when you're multiplying 2 numbers together, if you don't know what that product is, if you break one of your numbers up into smaller numbers, manipulating those numbers might make it so that you can overall. Okay. Mind's on. Let's engage in some prior learning. Let's find out what we need to use for today's new lesson. So first, we need to remember what converting percentage is, how that works. So a percentage is this sign, which is like a 0 line 0, kind of, is what it looks like. And it comes from the Latin by the 100. So percent means to divide by 100. So for example, 7% is equal to 7 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.07. 12% is equal to 12 divided by 100, which is 0.12. And 1/4% is equal to 1.25. So 1 1/4 is 1.25 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.0125. 3.5% can be written as a fraction or as a decimal. So 3.5 divided by 100 is equal to 0.035. 24.75% is equal to 24.75 divided by 100, equaling 0.2475. And 19.83% is equal to 19.83 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.1983. So it's really important to notice your place value. Sometimes you have zeros and sometimes you don't. That's going to make your number bigger or smaller. So if you're doing this on a calculator or if you're doing this by hand, it's really, really important to be paying attention to your number of decimal places. But whenever you're having a percent, you divide it by 100, and that gives you your decimal value. Okay, we also need to know what makes a year. So 1 year is equal to 12 months, which is equal to 52 weeks, which is equal to 365 days. For the purposes of what? For our math calculations, we ignore leap years. We just do 365 days. But we need to know that is what is a full year in days, that 52 is a full year in weeks, and that 12 months is a full year in months. Okay, so let's activate some new learning. As always, when will I use this in real life? We're discovering how the world around us makes sense. So this unit, we are talking about money. Money is something that plays in many of our lives. We all have to deal with money. And so this is paying attention to how the world around us works and making that make sense. So simple interest are part of car loans, mortgages, retail installment loans, bonds. These are all things that come up in our lives. And so simple interest actually plays a part in these. We're going to be doing some more interest in different places, but for our next lessons, but simple interest actually plays a role in all of these things. So let's go through some vocabulary so that we know that what we're talking about. Simple interest is when only the money invested or borrowed earns interest. Our principal is the money borrowed or invested, so how much we start with. The interest rate is the percent of the principal that is earned or paid as interest. And amount is the sum of the principal and the interest. All right, so let's explore what simple interest means. So here's a question. Suppose you are investing $1,000 that earns simple interest at a rate of 5% per annum. Per annum means per year. So how much interest would you earn in the first year? So if we think about this and we use a calculator, we're investing $1,000 and we earn 5% of that per year. So we multiply that by 5%. So we do 1,000 is how much we're investing times 5%. So that's 0.05. That's 5%. So that is going to be 50. So we would earn $50 for that first year. Okay. So what amount would you have after 1 year? So that means that we had $1,000 to start with. And we've now earned $50. So now we have $1,050. How much we have in total? How much interest would you earn in the second year? So again, for every year, we have $1,000 is how much we invested times 0.5% equals $50. So in the second year, we'd earn $50. How much interest would you have altogether after 2 years? Well, in our first year, we earned $50. And in our second year, we earned $50. So now we have $100. What amount would you have after 2 years? So we invested. Sorry, I lost my pen. There we go. We've invested $1,000 and then we earned $100 after 2 years. So now we have a total of $1,100 after 2 years. And that's how simple interest works, is that we always make interest on how much we invested at the beginning. And then we add it over time. Okay, so this says complete the table for 10 years for 1,000 invested with simple interest at a rate of 5% per annum. So the same thing that we were just doing, but we're going to do it. We're going to make a table for 10 years to see how it works over 10 years. So we have this table and we have we're comparing our number of years. So we'll list that 1 through 10. Our principal, which is 1,000. The interest that we earned in that first year is 50. The total interest that we've earned so far is 50 because we've only earned 1 year. And then our total amount is 1,550. Sorry. So after 2 years, we have our principals are still 1,000. That's how much we invested. Our interest that we earned in our second year is 50. And our total interest is now 100. So our total amount is 1,100. And we can continue that through that table. So after 3 years, our principal continues to be the same. Our interest is still $50. Our total interest is now 150. So our total amount is 1,150. Then we can continue that all the way down to 10 years, where our principal remains always 1,000. Our interest is always 50. And then our total interest is increasing by 50 because every year we're making $50 more. So our total amount increases by 50 because we're making $50 every year. Okay, so then we can plot those points and compare the time to the amount. So now we're comparing the number of years to our total amount. That's what we're wondering about. So here I've plotted those points on a graph and I've used Desmos, which I'll link in the show notes so that if you want to do it digitally, you can do that. So for every year, I've plotted a point. So year one, I've plotted 1,050, year 2, 1,100, year 3, 1,150, year 4, 1,200, and continued. And then we can connect those dots, our points, and we can see that we have a straight line. We have this linear growth. We're growing by the same amount every time, so we're increasing at a constant rate. So here, what patterns do you notice? I've sort of explained the patterns just in my last statement, but we are going at a constant rate. So we're in our table of values, we're adding 50 every time, every year. That's what we're doing. We're adding 50. So we're adding the same amount. And the same way with our linear graph, you can see that we're increasing, we're going up by 50 every time. So we're adding 50 every time from each point. So that's how our lines increase. So that's the pattern, is that we're increasing by a constant rate. We're increasing by adding 50 every time. So simple interest is both an arithmetic sequence. That means that we're adding the same thing every time, and linear growth, which means that we have a straight line, a constant rate of increase. So both of these are defined by interest are all the pattern is increasing or decreasing at a constant rate. We just looked at increasing, but we could be losing money at the same pattern, the losing money at the same rate. So that's the general concept about simple interest, is that we are gaining or losing money at a constant rate, the same amount every time. So now we're going to look at the simple interest formula. And this is on page 2 of your IL booklet for Unit 2. So simple interest, the formula is I equals PRT. I means the interest earned in dollars, so how much money we make. P equals the principal invested in dollars, the amount of money that you started with. R equals interest rate in years. This expresses a decimal. And T equals the time in years. Our time is broken down. Doesn't always happen in exactly 1 year. So it has to be represented in years, so that can make things a little bit tricky. So sometimes we need to convert our time. So if we know that 12 months is equal to a year. If our question or our situation says that, for example, it's 21 months, then we say our time is equal to 21 divided by 12, because it's months, which is equal to 1.75. So 21 months is 1.75 years. if our question or our situation is in weeks. So remember that 52 weeks is equal to 1 year. So for example, if we have 45 weeks, so 45 divided by 52 is equal to 0.87 years. And if our situation is in days, so a reminder that 365 days is equal to 1 year. So if we say we have 550 days is what we're investing for. So 550 divided by 365 is 1.5 years. So we always need to convert our time into years, even if the situation doesn't give us years. So if it says 21 months, that's really different if you put in 21 for T, because then you're saying 21 years, and that's really, really different than 21 months. So we need to convert it into years. So how do we calculate I equals PRT? What does that actually mean? So for example, find the simple interest and the amount when principal equals 640, the rate equals 12.5% per annum, and the time equals 6 months. Okay, so when we're doing this sorts of question, we need to remember all of our pieces. So principal is how much we're starting with, our rate per annum, so that we need to, so here, I would just define my characters. So P equals 640, that's our principal. R equals, we have 12.5% per annum, so we need, that's 12.5%, right? Which is 12.5 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.125. So we need to change that into a decimal. And our time is 6 months. Well, I need to change that into years. So 6 months is 6 divided by 12 months is what our time is equal to, because it's per year. So 6 divided by 12 is 0.5 years. So for calculating the interest, so interest is equal to principal times rate times time. I equals PRT. So interest is equal to principal, so 640 times rate, 0.125 times time, 0.5. And you're going to be able to do this on a calculator. I'm not going to multiply this out in my head. So 640 times 0.125 times 0.5, which is equal to 40. This you don't need a scientific calculator to do because you're just multiplying. My pen keeps disappearing on me. You can just use a calculator. You can use one on your phone, but as always, you're going to need a scientific calculator for your exam. So it's important to get comfortable with the calculator that you're using. So that answers the question, find the simple interest. The simple interest is $40. And the amount, we're trying to figure out how much our final amount is. So in order to find our final amount is equal to our principal plus our interest. So our principal is 640, our interest is 40. So our total amount is 680. And that's how much money we would have at the end. And that's how we calculate simple interest. Okay, so other situations that could be, so we might be asked to find the principal when our simple interest is 192, our rate is 6% per annum, and our time is 4 years. So in this case, we know our interest is 192. We're looking for our principal. That's what we're trying to find this time. So we don't know our P. Our rate is 6%, which is equal to 6 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.06. If you don't want to write all this out, if you just want to write R equals 0.06, that is totally fine. I'm just writing out it all to make sure that we know what we're talking about. And our time is equal to 4 years. It's already in years, so we don't need to do anything else. So to calculate this, we're using the same formula. So we still have I equals PRT because we're still talking about simple interest. This time we're trying to find P instead of I. So we're going to input all the information that we know. So I is 192 equals to P, we don't know this time, so we're going to leave that as our variable. And then R, so times our rate, 0.06, times our time, 4. And now we're going to solve for P. We're going to isolate for that. So we do that by simplifying as much as we can. So 192, we're going to leave right now. And so here we can do 0.06 times 4, which is 0.24. So now we're multiplying P by 0.24. So we want to solve for P. So we have 192 equals P times 0.24. So in order to isolate for P right now, we're multiplying it by 0.24. So if I divide by 0.24, that's going to cancel off my 0.24, right? Because if I multiply something by a number and I divide it by the number, it's the same. If I do it to one side, I need to do it to the other side. We're just doing algebra. So 192 divided by 0.24 is equal to 800. Is equal to P. So the principal is equal to $800. That's how much you'd have to invest in order to earn $192 in simple interest. Okay, so another example. Here we have simple interest is equal to 20. Our rate is 2% per annum, and our time is 20 months. We're still trying to figure out what our principal is. So our I is equal to 20. P, we're still trying to find. Our R is equal to 0.02 because it's 2% per annum. And our time is equal to 20 divided by 12 because it's 20 months, which is 12 months per year. So 20 divided by 12 is 1. If you do it on a calculator, you'll notice that it's 1.66666 repeated forever. So because we have a repeating decimal, it's going to be better to put our time in as a fraction instead of as a decimal, because then we're going to get a more exact answer. So we calculate the same way. I equals P R T. So we know that 20 is our I, P is what we're looking for, and we do 0.02 times 20 divided by 12, 20 over 12. So again, we're going to simplify as much as we can. So 20 we're going to leave equal to P times, and we're going to do 0.02 times 20 divided by 12, which gives us 0.03 repeated forever. So then you figure out how your calculator works and what makes the most sense. It's because then we want to do 20 divided by 0.03 forever, which is equal to $606.06. So again, depending on rounding, you might get something slightly different than me, but that's generally how it works, and that's how you solve for your principal. Okay, so what if we're trying to find the rate? So we're trying to find the rate. Question is, principal is equal to, sorry, my pen went away. Having some pen issues today. Principal is equal to 350. Our time is equal to 2.5 years, 2.5 years. And our interest, or simple interest earned, is 140. Our rate is what we're looking for. So again, we figure out what we know from our question and then what we're looking for. And we use the exact same formula. I equals P R T. Because this is always simple interest, this is the formula that we're using. So then we insert what we know and find what we don't know. So 140 is our interest. Our principal this time we know, so that's 350. Our R is what we're trying to find, and our time is 2.5. So then we isolate. So we have 140, and then we have 350 times 2.5, because that is what we know. So that is 875 times R. So then 140. So in order to isolate for R, we want to divide by 875. So we do it the same on the other side, 875. So we're going to do 140 divided by 875 is equal to 0.16 for R. We want it as a percent. Generally, we say our rate is a percent, right? So 0.16, to change it into a percent, is that we times it by 100. So times that by 100 gives us 16% for our rate. That's how we calculate rate. And another example. So if our principal is equal to 1,600, so P equals 9,600. Time is equal to 3 months. So 3 divided by 12 is our time, which 3 divided by 12, you can check to see if it's a simple decimal, and it is 0.25. Interest is 72, and we're looking for our rate. So I equals PRT. You'll get used to this formula. So our interest is 72. Our principal is 9,600 times our R, which we don't know, and our time, which is 0.25. So then we're isolating for R. So 72 is equal to 9,600 times 0.25, which is equal to 2,400 R. And divide by 2,400 to isolate for R. We do it on one side. We have to do it to the other side to keep ourselves balanced. So 72 divided by 2,400 is equal to 0.03. We want that to be as a percent. So 0.03 times 100 is equal to R. I've run out of space, but that is equal to 3%. And that's how we find our rate. Okay, and then the last variable situation, we can sometimes need to be finding the time. So if our principal is equal to 500 and our rate is equal to 7.5%, so that's 0.075, and our interest is equal to 150, and we're looking for our time. So we're still doing it in simple interest. So I equals PRT. So our interest is 150. Our principal is 500. Our rate this time we know is 0.075, and our time is what we're looking for. So we multiply our 500 times 0.075, which is equal to 37.5. So 150 is equal to 37.5 T. So to figure out what T equals, we divide by 37.5 on both sides. So 150 divided by 37.5 is equal to 4. So T is equal to 4. And because that's a full number, that means 4 years, because our time is always in years. I'm going through the algebra fairly quickly. If you need help with some of the algebra, let me know and we can do some review. I don't have any videos up right now, but maybe I'll put up some videos about some review of algebra. All right, and then finding the time when, again, another example. So our principal in this example is equal to 700. Our rate is equal to 18%. PA is what it says on the in question. Sorry, I forgot to say that. PA means per annum, so per year. So 18% is equal to 0.18. And our interest earned, our simple interest, is equal to $78. And we are looking for time. So I equals PRT. Our interest is 78. Our principal is 700. Our rate is 0.18 and our time is T. So we have 78 equals 700 times 0.18 times T. So then we're going to do 700 times 0.18 to simplify. Calculator, I don't have these memorized. So 700 times 0.18 is 126 T. So to isolate for T, we have 78 equals 126 T. So we want to divide by 126 on each side in order to isolate for T. So 78 divided by 126 is equal to 0.62. So 0.62 equals T. Well, that's 0.62 years. Well, that's not really helpful for us because that doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know how long that is. So I'm going to multiply that number times 12. So 0.62 times 12 is equal to my time, which is equal to 7.43 months. So I could say it like that. I could say, okay, 7.43 months is how much time I need. I could also convert my time into, so 0.62 times 52, which is going to tell me how many weeks it is. So if I do 0.2 times 52, that tells me that it is 32.2 weeks. And that is giving me a little bit more information. That makes me understand it a little bit more. I could even also do time times, I could convert it to days if I wanted to. If the question doesn't specify, then you convert to what makes the most sense, or you could leave it at 0.62 years. You just need to say that it's years, and that's fine. And that's how we find the time. Okay, so we've now done enough work to help you with all the support questions on page 6, 1 through 4 of your IL booklet. So if you're watching the video, the replay, you can pause and do some practice there if you'd like. If anyone who's here today has any questions, now would be a great chance to ask if you'd like. If not, we will continue on to just do a quick recap of what we've done today. All right, let's go and see what we've done. So let's consolidate what we've learned today. So lesson 6 highlights. So a reminder of simple interest and linear growth is what we're focusing on. So simple interest is both arithmetic sequence and linear growth, where the pattern increases or decreases at a constant rate. We've just been looking at increasing basically, because that's where we're using it most often. So we use our formula, I equals PRT, where I is our interest earned in dollars, our P is our principal amount in dollars, our R is interest rate as a percent as a decimal, and our T is time in years. We also, A is our final amount, and that is equal to our principal plus our interest. So A equals P plus I. All right, so looking at our success criteria, hopefully you can explain the connections between simple interest and linear growth in arithmetic sequences. That was our first goal. And our second success criteria was saying I can identify what information is available in a real life situation involving simple interest, and you can calculate the missing element. So using the I equals PRT formula, we can find what we know, and therefore we can find what we don't know. All right, so let's do some word problems to extract our information and continue from there. So for some practice questions, number 1, Mac invested $525 at 7.3% per year. When the investment matured, she had a total of $576.10. How long did Mac invest for? So we need to write we need to find what we know, and then we need to find what we're looking for. So we're doing simple interest. So we know our principal is how much we invested. So Mac invested 525. So our principal is 525. Our rate is 7.3% per year. So that's 0.073. And our next sentence says, when the investment matured, she had a total of $576.10. So if she has a total, is that telling us our interest, how much we've earned, or is that telling us the final amount? To me, that's telling us our final amount. So we don't know our I quite yet. We don't know how much interest she earned, and how long did Mac invest for. So we're looking for our T. That's how long. It's telling us that we're looking for our time. So we are actually missing two things, which isn't really helpful. So our amount, so we're going to use our other formula. So our amount is equal to our principal plus our interest, right? So we know our final amount is 576.10, 10 cents. Our principal was 525. So our interest is equal to 576.10. Take away 525 is what our interest is equal to, right? Because if we have our total amount, we take away our principal, that tells us how much we earned. So again, using my trusty calculator, $576.10 to take away 525 is $51.10 is our interest. So we can put that back in our, that is information that we know. So sometimes you need to read the question and make sure that you are actually using the information the way that they, what it means. So students may just say that this is your interest, this is your I value, and that's not true. That's going to give you the wrong answer. So it's really important to be paying attention to what the question's actually asking. So then we're going to use our interest question, our formula, I equals P RT. So we know our interest is 51.10. Our principal is 525. Our rate is 0.073. And our time is what we're looking for. So then we're doing the same thing that we were just doing before. So we have 525 times 0.073 is equal to 38.325 T. So 51.10 is equal to 38.325 T. So we divide by 38.325 in order to figure out what T is. So 51.10 divided by 38.325 is equal to 1.33 equals T. So I'm going to multiply 1.33 times 12. It doesn't ask us to specify, but again, I'm going to figure out how many months that is. So 16 months is equal to T. So Mac invested for 16 months. That just gives me a little bit more information opposed to 1.33 years. 1.33 years would totally be fine. I would accept it as an answer because it's true, but 16 months makes more sense to me. It's more logical. And that's the answer to the question. Okay, question 2. Archer owes $2,638.94 on their credit card. If the annual interest rate is 19.99% and they don't pay off their balance for 60 days, how much interest will they pay? So again, lots of words, lots of information. Let's figure out what we know and what we're trying to find out. So in this situation, we have an owing question. So our principal is how much we start with. So Archer owes $2,638.94. So that's how much we're starting with. That's our principal. If the annual interest rate is 19.99%, so our rate is 19.99%, which as a decimal is 0.1999, and they don't pay off their balance for 60 days. So our time is 60 days, which is going to be equal to 60 divided by 365. And I'm just going to leave that as a fraction to make my example more precise. So how much interest will they pay? So we're looking for I in this situation. So using our I equals PRT formula, I is what we're looking for. So our principal is $2,638.94 times our interest rate, which is 0.1999, times our time, which is 60 divided by 365. You could do that as a decimal, but doing it as a fraction gives us a little bit more precision. So then we're going to do it in calculator. We're going to do 2,638.94 times 0.1999 times 60 divided by 365. So we get 86.72 as our answer. Okay, so what does that number mean? We have to, that needs to give it a constant. So Archer, okay, $86.72 in interest. For not paying off their credit card. And that's that question. All right, question number 3. Oliver hopes to earn $100 in interest over 18 months. If the interest rate is 3.2%, how much do they need to invest? So as always, we need to figure out what we know and what we don't know. So we're going to use our I equals PRT. So we know that we need to figure out if we know P, R, T, and I. So Oliver hopes to earn $100 in interest. So earning $100 in interest, that's going to be your I. Over 18 months. So 18 months is our time. So 18, because it's months, divided by 12. 18 divided by 12 is 1.5. I know that one because 18 is a year and a half. So I can put it as a decimal. I know it's going to be fair. It's going to be easy to do. And our interest rate is 3.2%. So 0.032. How much do they need to invest? That's our principal. How much they need to do now. So we're looking for P. So our equation, our formula, I equals PRT. So I is 100. P is what we're looking for. So we leave that as our variable. Then times R, which is 0.032. And our time, which is 1.5. So then we're solving for P. So 100 equals P times, and then we're going to multiply our 0.032 times 1.5, and that is equal to 0.048. And then we want to solve for P. So we're going to do, because we're multiplying P times 0.08, we're going to divide by 0.048 in order to cancel it off. We do it to one side, we need to do it to the other side. So 100 divided by 0.048 is equal to $2,083.33 is your P. So Oliver to invest $2,083.33 in order to earn $100 in interest. Okay. One more question. Mirabelle earned $6.16 on an investment of $1,000 over 90 days. What was the annual interest rate? Okay. Oops. All right. So P, we're looking for P, our R, our T, and our I. What do we know? What are we trying to find? So P, Mirabelle earned $6.16 on an investment. She earned that, and therefore that's our interest, $6.16 on an investment of $1,000. So our principal is $1,000. over 90 days. So our time is 90 divided by 365. What was your annual interest rate? So we're looking for R. I equals PRT is our formula. So I, we know $6.16. Our P is 1,000. Our R is what we're looking for. And our T is 90 divided by 365. So in order to figure out our $6.16 we're going to keep, and it's equal to 1,000. And then we're going to times that by 90 and divide that by 365. So that is 246.58 times R. So $6.16 is equal to $246.58 times R. So we're going to divide our both sides by $246.58 in order to find out what R equals. So 6.16 divided by $246.58 is equal to 0.025 is what your R equals. We want that in a percentage. So 0.025 times 100 is equal to your R. So 2.5% is your R. So Mirabelle's annual interest rate is 2.5%. So it's really important to go back to your question, make sure that you know what your question is asking, because you want to make sure that your number makes sense. So if you ended up with, say you ended up with 1,000% interest rate, you would know that's probably not very likely that you have 1,000% interest rate and you've made a mistake somewhere along the line. So it's really, really important to check what your question's asking, which is why we encourage you to write a sentence at the end of your question and to make sure that you know that your answer makes sense. That's really, really important. That's a skill that we're definitely developing. All right, so then we have calculate the missing item from each of this chart. So this one we're not actually going to go through because we've had lots of practice. But when you have a question like this where you have missing information, they're just giving it to you. So you have your principal, your rate, your time, and your interest, and you need to figure out the one that is missing in that block. So like for 5A, we have 700 as our principal, our rate is blank, so that's what we're searching for. Our time is 2 years, and our interest is $112. So then you just do the same thing that we've been doing in terms of having your I equals PRT and solving for your different values. All right, so that is our day. We went through a lot of practice for our simple interest of I equals PRT. If anyone has any questions, please let me know always. If anybody's here today has questions that they want to ask me quickly, we have a couple minutes. We have about 2 minutes to answer. But if not, that is totally fine. So always contact me if you have questions or concerns. If you're struggling with anything, you can call the office and leave a message for me and I'll get back to you. The number is 807-737-1488. The toll-free number is 1-800-667-3703. Emailing me at bronwyn.slate, which is spelled BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca. Also connecting with me on Facebook at Wahsa, and our replay will be played on YouTube at Wahsa shortly after. I'll upload it later today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a lovely day. Mogwitch.